Welcome back to the deep dive, everyone. This is where we take a whole stack of sources and boil them down to what you really need to know. And today, we're looking at something small, often colorful, definitely square, and, well, famously indestructible. We're plugging into the history, the story, the legacy of Boss pedals.
Yeah, the company that basically took guitar effects and, standardized them for pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Made them tough, made them sound great, made them, well, Boss.
It's true. When you think about really iconic gear, like truly ubiquitous stuff in music.
Like a Strat or a Les Paul.
Exactly. That level of recognition. Boss managed that, but not with a guitar, with these little stomp boxes. They didn't just make effects pedals. They fundamentally created the blueprint for what a modern stomp box is. The format, the reliability. It became the global standard. It's this fascinating mix of really smart industrial design and solid electronics. Okay, let's get into that history then, because the Boss story, it's kind of this classic tale of innovating within certain constraints, right? And it doesn't start with those little boxes we all picture. We have to talk about Roland first.
Right, the parent company.
Yeah.
Roland Corporation. Founded back in 1972 by the legendary Ikutaro Kakehashi.
Big name in synths, drum machines.
Oh, yeah, Roland was already a major player.
Yeah.
And Boss kind of grew out of that whole high-tech background. But the interesting thing is that, the first product that really set the stage, it wasn't actually a compact pedal. And it wasn't even branded Bosses initially.
Ah, you're talking about the CE1 Chorus Ensemble, the big gray one?
That's the one from 1974. And yeah, if you've seen it, it's like this large mains-powered unit. Definitely not the small battery-friendly thing they became famous for.
Why so big then? What was the thinking there?
Well, fundamentally, it was derived from the chorus circuit in the Roland JC120 amp, the jazz chorus.
The amp known for that chorus sound, so they kind of pulled the sound out of the amp.
Pretty much. They externalized that amazing shimmering chorus so any guitarist could get it, whatever amp they were using. And that was huge. It was the very first standalone chorus effect unit on the market.
Okay, but still, why the big box and the AC power?
Technology limitations.
Yeah.
Mainly. Back in 74, those complex analog modulation circuits, especially chorus, which used bucket brigade devices or BVDs, well, they needed stable, higher voltage to run properly and sound clean.
Right.
Trying to get that quality sound from a little 9-volt battery back then, it just wasn't really practical without cutting corners on the sound. So they had to go big to get it right.
So the CE1 proved the concept. Roland, soon to be Boss, could take a pro sound and put it in a box. But it wasn't, gig-friendly in the way we think of pedals now.
Exactly. It was a studio piece or maybe for the pros with roadies. But they saw it succeed and they realized, okay, the real future, the mass market, that's in portability. And that leads us right to 1976, the big shift.
1976. The sources really point to this as the year Boss went from making cool effects to actually setting an industry standard. What happened?
They basically cracked the code for the enclosure, the box itself. They launched their first two compact pedals, the OD1 Overdrive and the PH1 Phaser.
It's the yellow and the green one.
That's them. And yeah, the effects were good. The OD1 especially was groundbreaking. But the real revolution, the thing that lasted, was the design of the box. The size, the toughness, the usability, it just nailed it. Still the benchmark today, really.
Okay, let's break down that design. Why did this small rectangular metal box become the format? It's more than just being metal, right?
Oh, way more. It was this perfect mix of practical design and thinking about the player. First, the shape, small, rectangular, fits neatly on a pedal board, efficient use of space.
Makes sense.
But the construction was key. Cast metal, super sturdy. These things were built to be stepped on, dropped, have stuff spilled on them. The reality of playing live.
Yeah, plastic pedals don't tend to last long on tour.
Exactly. Boss basically guaranteed resilience. You bought one, you knew it would work night after night. That toughness, that reliability, arguably their biggest selling point, especially early on.
And then there were those little user-friendly touches, things that seem obvious now but weren't standard then.
Right, like the LED indicator.
Yeah.
Seems so simple, but before Boss, a lot of pedals gave you no clue if they were on or off.
Which, on a dark stage, is a nightmare.
Total nightmare. That little LED next to the switch, instant clarity, became standard overnight, basically. Everyone else had to copy it.
And the other big one, the thing that really screams, we know what musicians need. The thumb screw for the battery.
Ah, yes. Such a small detail, but so important. Imagine your battery dying mid-set. You don't want to be hunting for a screwdriver, trying to undo 4 tiny screws under pressure.
Been there. It's not fun.
Nope. The thumb screw meant tool-free access. Pop it open, swap the battery, back in action in seconds. It just cemented that idea. These are tools for working musicians.
Yeah.
Reliable tools. It standardized the using of the pedal, you know.
Before we move on from 76, let's quickly touch on the OD1 Overdrive again. You said it was groundbreaking. How so? What made it different?
Well, it really introduced soft clipping drive to the masses in a pedal format. Before that, you mostly had fuzz or distortion, which often use hard clipping.
Okay, what's the difference there in simple terms?
Think of it like this. Hard clipping chops the top and bottom off the sound wave really sharply. Gives you that aggressive, buzzy, compressed sound. Fuzz, basically. Soft clipping, like in the OD1, is gentler. It rounds off the peaks of the wave more gradually. It's closer to how a tube amp sounds when you push it into saturation. Warmer, smoother, more harmonic richness, less harsh fizz.
So it filled a gap between clean and full-on distortion.
Exactly. It gave players that smooth, amp-like breakup, perfect for blues, classic rock. It was a really useful musical sound that wasn't easily available in a compact pedal before the OD1.
Right, so they've got the perfect box, they've got a couple of killer first pedals.
Yeah.
What happens next? Did they just start churning them out?
Pretty much. Yeah. Once they had that standardized bulletproof format down, the late 70s and early 80s became like the Boss golden age of expansion. They just started filling every gap in the effects market. This is where the legendary lineup really takes shape.
And where do we start? Has to be the orange one, right? The DS1 distortion. Probably the most recognizable pedal ever made.
Absolutely essential. The DS1 from 1978, it offered a different flavor of distortion, tighter, more focused in the mids compared to, say, a fuzz pedal. But the truly fascinating thing about the DS1, and the sources really highlight this, is just how diverse its famous users were. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Explain that. How can one simple, kind of cheap distortion pedal work for so many different styles?
Okay, look at the list. You've got Kurt Cobain, using it for that raw, kind of fuzzy, almost broken sound in Nirvana, just pure grunge aggression.
Right, total opposite of precise.
Exactly. Then pivot completely, you've got Steve Vai, the ultimate shred virtuoso, super high gain, incredibly precise technical playing. He used the DS1 often as a boost or a core part of his gain structure.
Okay, that's already a huge leap.
And then Joe Satriani, another guitar hero, known for his smooth, articulate, fusion-y tones. He famously modded his DS1s, but relied on its basic character.
Wow, so grunge, shred, fusion, all from the same orange box.
It really shows that the Boss approach, the standardization, it didn't limit creativity. It provided this reliable, affordable, predictable sonic building block. You could use it as your main dirt, or to push an amp, or shape another pedal. Yeah. Its simplicity was its strength, adaptable to whatever the player needed. Proved affordability didn't mean one-trick pony.
Okay, so distortion cover. Then they went back to their roots, didn't they, with chorus?
Yep, circled right back. In 1979, they released the CE2 chorus. This was basically them taking the magic of that original big CE1 and shrinking it down into their new standard compact format.
Using newer chip technology, presumably.
Exactly. BBD technology had advanced a bit, making it feasible in the smaller battery-powered enclosure, and the CE2 just took off. It became the chorus sound for so much of the 80s. That shimmering, watery, slightly detuned sound, still hugely popular today.
Okay, drive, check. Modulation, check. What about time-based effects? Delay.
That brings us to 1981 and the DM2 delay. Another absolute classic, especially loved by analog tone fans.
Because of the BBDs again, that bucket brigade thing?
Precisely. We talked about BBDs for chorus, but they're key to analog delay too. Think of the sound signal like water being passed down a line of tiny buckets, the capacitors.
Okay.
Each time the water is passed, a tiny bit gets spilled or lost. That's signal degradation. So each echo repeat from a BBD delay is slightly darker, slightly less distinct than the one before it. It creates this warm, decaying, almost smeary quality.
As opposed to digital delay, which would be perfectly clean repeats.
Generally, yeah. Early digital was very clean, very precise. The DM2 gave you that vintage, warm analog echo in the standard Boss box. Affordable, reliable analog delay. Huge deal at the time.
It seems like they weren't just thinking about adding flavor, though. They were also thinking about control, right? Shaping the tone itself.
Definitely. That's clear from the GE6 graphic equalizer, which actually came out really early in 1977, right after the first Compacts.
An EQ pedal. Seems a bit utility.
But super important. A graphic EQ lets you boost or cut specific frequencies. Boss realized pretty quickly that musicians didn't just need cool sounds. They needed tools to fix problems or fine-tune their rig.
Like cutting through the mix. Or dealing with a bad room sound.
Exactly that. Or maybe shaping the output of your distortion pedal. Making that kind of surgical tone control available, portable, and reliable was a smart move. They were thinking about the whole signal chain, not just individual effects. By the early 80s, yeah, they pretty much had all the core bases covered.
So they had the range of products, they had the unbeatable format. But just having stuff available doesn't guarantee becoming the global standard, does it? Was there a conscious strategy behind becoming so ubiquitous? Did they worry about being seen as like the generic option compared to maybe early boutique stuff?
That's a really key question. And yeah, there's probably always that tension. But their massive success kind of proves that for most working musicians, reliability and accessibility trumped niche, bespoke sounds. We can really boil down their success strategy, their Boss philosophy, into 3 core pillars that all supported each other.
Okay, pillar 1.
Pillar 1 is what we've been talking about. Compact, durable, affordable. Build them tough, build them small, make them affordable. Engineer them for the road warrior. If a pedal costs way less and you know it won't break, that's a powerful argument against something maybe fancier but more fragile or expensive. Quality at a mass market price.
Makes sense. Pillar 2, how did they get everywhere?
Pillar 2, mass adoption. This wasn't just luck. It was leveraging the power of Roland. Boss used Roland's huge, established global distribution network.
So they weren't starting from scratch building relationships with stores.
Not at all. Suddenly, Boss pedals weren't just in specialist shops in big cities. They were everywhere. Small-town music stores, big retailers, internationally. That ubiquity made them the default choice for so many players starting out, and even pros just needing something reliable quickly. Backed by a known name, Roland.
Okay, solid pillars. What's the third?
Pillar 3, innovation plus reliability. Here's the thing. Boss didn't necessarily invent every effect type, fuzz, wah, phasing. These existed before, but what Boss mastered was taking those existing concepts and engineering the most usable, most reliable, and most affordable versions of them. They perfected the packaging and delivery of those sounds in a way no one else could match at that scale.
And that philosophy, those pillars, that's what led to them just dominating through the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely. They became the standard worldwide. You just saw them everywhere, and the sources confirm it. Look at the Pro rigs from that era. The Edge from U2, loads of Boss delays, and other units creating those huge soundscapes.
Yeah, his sound is iconic.
John Frusciante, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Especially his early stuff. Heavily reliant on Boss drive pedals like the DS2 Turbo Distortion.
And Prince.
Prince, yeah, he had that signature purple pedal board, often packed with Boss compacts. Using these pedals proved they weren't just beginner gear, they were serious tools used by groundbreaking artists.
The 80s also saw digital technology really start to shrink down, right? Moving from expensive studio racks into more accessible formats. Boss was right there.
Right at the forefront for pedals. The DD2 digital delay in 1983 was a massive milestone. Before that, getting long, clean, high-fidelity delay usually meant spending thousands on a big rack unit.
So this was the first compact digital delay.
The first one, yeah. Suddenly you could get that pristine, accurate digital repetition totally different from the warm decay of the analog DM2 in the standard Boss pedal format. It democratized digital delay, basically. Huge leap in processing power fitting into that small box.
So they're pushing digital forward. But at the same time, they released another analog pedal that kind of took on a life of its own, defining a whole genre.
Ah, you mean the HM2 Heavy Metal, also from 1983. This pedal is such a fascinating example of how a standard product can spark unexpected creativity.
The chainsaw distortion pedal.
That's the one. Initially, it was just another mass-market high-gain distortion, but it had this really unique, aggressive, kind of scooped, mid-range, super buzzy sound, especially when you cranked all the knobs.
Which someone inevitably did.
Exactly. Bands over in Scandinavia, particularly Sweden, latched onto that maxed-out HM2 sound, and the sources are clear. The HM2 became the absolute sonic foundation for Swedish death metal. Entombed, Dismember. That whole sound owes a massive debt to that specific Boss pedal.
Incredible. One pedal, intended for mass appeal, ends up defining this intense underground genre.
It just shows how musicians will take a tool and find their own unique voice with it, sometimes in ways the manufacturer never imagined. Standardization didn't stifle creativity. It gave it a specific, reliable tool to manipulate.
So, by the time the 90s rolled around, Boss was just dominant. Unmatched catalog, pedals everywhere. Their legacy was pretty much cemented even before the year 2000.
Okay, let's jump forward then. 2000s onwards. The market looks totally different now, right? You've got hundreds, maybe thousands of boutique pedal makers offering super specialized sounds. Plus, digital modeling is everywhere. Amps, multi-effects units, software. How does Boss, the original standard setter, stay relevant in this world?
It's a great question. And honestly, they've navigated it pretty skillfully. They seem to have adopted this strategy of balancing their legacy with targeted innovation. They haven't abandoned their roots, but they're not stuck in the past either. They're segmenting the market really effectively.
How so? What are the main areas they're focusing on now?
Well, one big area is moving beyond just simple effects into performance tools. Look at the RC Loop Station series. Looping became huge thanks to artists like Ed Sheeran and others.
Yeah, loop pedals are everywhere now. And Boss basically jumped in and set the standard for performance loopers. The RC series offers everything from simple phrase loopers to complex multi-track stations. It showed they could innovate in a whole new category crucial for modern solo artists and performers. It's about performance architecture now, not just tone.
Okay, so that's innovation in a new area. What about their classic sounds? How do they handle the competition from boutique clones or higher-end pedals inspired by their old designs?
That's where the Wazacraft series comes in. This was a really clever move, I think. Waza means art and technique in Japanese, right? So the name itself signals premium quality.
So these are deluxe versions of old Boss pedals.
Exactly. The sources describe them as high-end reissues. They take classic circuits, the BD2 Blues Driver, the CE2 Chorus, the DM2 Delay, but they build them with upgraded components, maybe some hand wiring, often adding extra features like custom modes or different voicings.
So it's Boss competing directly with the boutique market that often clones their own old pedals.
Precisely. It's like Boss saying, hey, we invented this sound. If you want the ultimate premium version of it, buy it from us, the original creators.
Yeah.
It lets them capture that high-end market segment that values that extra bit of sonic fidelity or build quality, often at a higher price point. It's a way to own their legacy at all levels.
Smart. And then on the completely other end of the spectrum, they're still pushing the digital envelope, right? Not just simple delays anymore.
Oh, yeah. They've gone deep into high-powered digital processing with the 500 series. You've got the DD500 digital delay, the RV500 reverb, the MD500 modulation.
These look way more complex than the old compacts.
They absolutely are. These are serious digital powerhouses. Think deep programmability, multiple effects engines running at once, complex signal routing, MIDI control, extensive presets. They're designed to compete head-to-head with high-end rack gear and the most sophisticated boutique digital pedals out there.
Still kind of fitting into that Boss aesthetic, though, visually.
Yeah, they maintain that lineage. But functionally, they're beasts. It shows Boss can play at both ends. Still making the simple, reliable DS1 for beginners, but also offering these incredibly powerful digital tools for pros running complex rigs. And it seems to be working, despite all the competition. They remain the largest pedal maker in the world. They're managing to serve pretty much everyone.
It really is an amazing story of adapting while staying true to their core identity. Okay, let's try and wrap this all up for the listener. We've covered the history, the key pedals, the modern era. Fundamentally, why does Boss matter so much? What's the lasting impact beyond just selling tons of pedals?
I think we can boil down their long-term importance, their true legacy, into 4 key pillars. 4 reasons why they were and remain so foundational.
Okay, pillar number 1.
The standardized pedal format. This is arguably their single biggest contribution, that compact enclosure design. It's not just a box, it's an industry icon. The sources we looked at make this really powerful comparison. They say the Boss enclosure is as recognizable as defining for effects as the Stratocaster or Les Paul shape is for guitars.
Wow, that's a strong claim.
But it feels right, doesn't it? It set the physical benchmark. Everyone knows what a Boss pedal looks like and how it works. That tactile standard is huge.
Okay, pillar 2, related to their early moves.
Pillar 2, breadth of catalog. They didn't just make a great overdrive or a great chorus. They went wide, really early on. By the early 80s, they had aggressively covered almost every conceivable effect, category drives, modulation, delay, reverb, EQ, pitch shifting, even synth pedals and tuners. If you needed an effect back then, chances are Boss had a reliable, affordable, compact version ready to go.
Which made them the easy choice for building a board.
Totally. Which leads directly to pillar 3,
Yeah.
reliability. That reputation for being indestructible. You hear it all the time.
Built like a tank.
Exactly. This wasn't just marketing fluff, it was real. Touring musicians built their careers on these pedals because they knew they wouldn't fail mid-gig. That trust factor is immense. You still see 30, 40-year-old Boss pedals on pro boards today, working perfectly. They often outlast everything else.
Incredible durability. Okay, and the final pillar, pillar 4.
Pillar 4, global dominance. Because of the format, the catalog, the reliability, and Roland's distribution network, Boss became the most widely used pedal brand on the planet by the 80s. And they still hold that position.
So everyone, everywhere, had access to the same tools?
Pretty much. A guitarist in Tokyo, one in London, one in a small town in Brazil, they could all buy and use the exact same reliable Boss pedal. It created this kind of shared global sonic language built on these little metal boxes.
That really puts it in perspective. Okay, so that wraps up our deep dive. From that big gray CE1 to the tiny, tough, ubiquitous boxes that define the sound and feel of plugging in an electric guitar for generations. Boss really did take the wild world of effects and standardize it, making it reliable, accessible, and ready for anything.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought to chew on. Boss's biggest contribution was, in many ways, about standardization. And about constraint, defining the size, the switch, the power, creating a template. But the paradox is that very constraint, that reliable, universal format, is what actually unlocked so much creativity. It gave generations of musicians this dependable platform to build upon, to experiment with, to find their own sounds within that structure.
Structure enabling freedom.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And now you look at something like their new 500 series pedals, incredibly complex digital brains still housed in that familiar Boss format. And you wonder, are they now using that same standard to break the very boundaries the original compacts established? It suggests the Boss standard isn't static. It's capable of evolving almost infinitely.
Food for thought indeed. Next time you see a guitarist setting up, take a look at their pedal board. Count the Boss pedals. Chances are the foundation of their sound, the reliable core, started with one of those tough little boxes. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the undisputed king of the stomp box. We'll catch you on the next one.